hundreds of billions just the last 5 years. It is simply incredible. That's from the ACLU study. So we're really honored today to have Pete Martino in the studio with us for this special report. We appreciate his courage because obviously the establishment has criticized him for talking about the 10 trillion pound elephant in the living room, or the fact that the emperor's not wearing any clothes. He is a retired colonel in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserves now. He's commanded an infantry platoon, company, and battalion, and has been the senior U.S. advisor to an Iraqi army brigade. And he got a Bronze Star for some of the operations he was involved in Numania, Iraq. So after more than 10 months of trying to get him in studio, we've got Colonel Martino right here with us. Colonel, great to have you here with us.
Thanks, Alex. Just call me Pete. I'm a civilian now. Well, one of the things I'd like to say, first off, is I had a very highly educated Iraqi tell me one time that the way to solve the IED problem over there was first time you have an attack, take a look around, find the closest house, go knock on the door, tell those folks you got 1 hour to pack and get out, and then blow up their house. And the logic there is, next time, pay attention to what goes on in front of your house. And I think that's the mindset in a lot of the world. And one of the messages I think that should come out of that to the American people is the reason so many people in the world want to kill us is because we need to pay attention on what's going on in our own house. And when it comes to these Bearcats and this issue, to be honest with you, I really don't have a problem with the police having Bearcats if it's to keep me safe and to keep police officers safe. In fact, I know about a dozen police officers personally in New Hampshire who, if they were the ones holding the key, they could park it in my driveway and I'd sleep better at night. But the reality is, I don't know all the people who have the keys to those Bearcats. And the thing that concerned me in Concord last year was that the chief of police justified on his grant application for that Bearcat as one of the reasons was to deal with the daily challenges of the Free State Project. Now, the Free State Project is just a group of liberty-minded individuals, activists, who are trying to get 20,000 people, activists, to move to New Hampshire because it's a small state and try to restore liberty there and return to constitutional government. About a dozen of them are already state representatives there.
And they're saying we need armored vehicles that have been used in Iraq because the Free State Project, peacefully and politically, their symbol's the porcupine, doesn't attack anybody, but it'll defend itself, want to try to vote for more freedom, so we need armored vehicles.
Exactly, and I think some of them are a little bit out there as far as some of their tactics. I know some of them are out there maybe ticking off a lot of the police, and I think they should knock it off because it's not the police that are really the problem. It's some of the leadership, and it's the laws themselves. One of the Free State Project members actually reminded everybody that New Hampshire has an open carry law. And he reminded everybody by walking down the street in Manchester, New Hampshire, downtown, and was stopped by the police and detained for a while until finally people realized that it's not an illegal act to walk down the street open carrying. And since then, now you can see people open carrying. So if we don't remind people of our freedoms, people forget we have them. And
I agree. That's the cutting edge of the true civil rights movement, is open carry and things like that, because a right not exercised is dead. But, Colonel, I want to go back to that city council meeting and play a few clips right now.
What's happening here is we're building a domestic military because it's unlawful or unconstitutional to use American troops on American soil. So what we're doing is we're building a military. My best friend, who's a SWAT officer in Nashua, who came to Iraq with me to train the Iraqi police, sent me an email with a picture of him in the media on the streets of Watertown, Mass, wearing the exact same combat gear that we had in Iraq, only it was a different color. And the way we do things in the military is called task organization. You take a command and then you attach units to it in order to accomplish the mission. What's happening is Homeland Security is pre-staging gear, equipment, consistent. And so what we're doing here, and let's not kid about it, we're building a domestic army and we're shrinking the military because the government is afraid of its own citizens. We're building an army over here, and I can't believe that people aren't seeing it. Is everybody blind? That's all. I'll take
understand, though, your point about not blaming the police individually or the military individually. I found police and military are some of the most awake, pro-liberty people out there because they know what's going on the inside. But undoubtedly now, they say that Homeland Security is not for al-Qaeda that you fought in Iraq. It's for the Tea Party, for veterans, for gun owners. That's in the news. And that it's for domestic groups and civil unrest. That's unconstitutional under posse comitatus.
Well, I think one of the reasons that I have concerns about Homeland Security, as I said, it comes down to trust. And one of the things that doesn't instill trust in me is the chief of staff of Homeland Security was actually turned state witness and testified against his father-in-law, who was a state senator in Pennsylvania. And he was charged and went to prison for 137 counts of corruption. And I think, what's his name? Christian Marone, who's now the chief of staff of Homeland Security, worked for the senator, spent 80% of his time doing personal work for the senator, particularly overseeing construction projects on the senator's house. And a Philadelphia city councilman said that he basically turned over on his father-in-law to keep himself from going to jail.
So these are imperfect people that are in the system. That's why you've got to put restraints on it. Checks and balances.
And we're all imperfect, and that's the scary part. How much power do we want to give people who are imperfect, especially someone like this who used as justification, well, it was, the culture of Philadelphia politics. So
exactly. I mean, we didn't have military on the streets before in America because we understood that always turned bad. Why is it happening now? And we're not talking about during riots. Just roll them out, have them out there. Talk about why you originally went to the city council and warned people. And then I want to get your take on the NSA, on the IRS, because you've got an incredible list of things to talk about, Colonel.
Well, thanks. The thing that actually brought me to that city council meeting was one of my sons. One of his friends was a victim of police abuse. And in some of these police departments all over the country, but even in New Hampshire, in some of these small towns, you get some bad apples. And the problem is that those bad apples, like in any industry, any organization, any bureaucracy, whether it's the IRS, the NSA, and so on, you've got these people who abuse their power. And so when people are victimized by people in power, it's a lot different than when somebody robbing you to take your wallet. These people have power and the authority of government behind them. And so I think institutions need to take a little bit of pride and step up themselves and police their own. And I'm shocked that nobody at the IRS has come forward. Somebody sat next to Lois Lerner. Somebody in some of these agencies was in the next cubicle and knew what was going on and still knows what's going on. And yet you don't see people coming forward and talking about it. So when you work for a government agency and people start broad brushing that agency and talking about it, they're talking about you. Same thing with our country. When people say negative things about the United States or they want to kill us or whatever, they're talking about you and me. The United States isn't some piece of dirt. It's not some monument, some building. It's you and me.
It's us.
It's we the people.
And that's why I do what I do. So I don't want it in my name.
Exactly. And so where are the people in these agencies? Where's the embarrassment? Where's the shame? Where's the sense of conscience to go out there and speak up and say something? And a lot of people are afraid of retaliation or losing their job. Well, go get another job. Look for one beforehand. Look for other.
Well, I found historically, but also personally, we're going to lose everything if we don't start standing up for what's right. This attitude of just go along, don't make waves, is going to cause a literal tsunami of tyranny to bring it all down.
And it all boils down to integrity. And that's one of the things that scares me, too, is the director of Homeland Security said that he was impressed with his new chief of staff's integrity. And so when we talk about integrity, I don't know what their definition is, but, I thought it was interesting. We talk about the integrity of the Department of Homeland Security. Here we are being told that the NSA needs to turn the whole planet into the Truman Show, and we're all Truman. And yet at the same time, we've got people walking across the border, without any ID, just being shipped all over the country.
Borders wide open,
yeah.
But Homeland Security is for veterans, Tea Party, gun owners, libertarians. Just like you said a year ago, why are the armored vehicles for the Peaceful Free State Project? Exactly. It's a fraud. It's domestically being pointed at us, so we need to have a national debate about it and explain, hey, you better point that somewhere else.
And what it comes down to is the integrity of an organization by looking at its mission statement. And this is the part that I think is wrong with this country is we've got all these lofty mission statements in all of our institutions, and yet if you look at the mission statement and try to follow that mission statement, you end up in trouble with your supervisors. You know, right from the Department of Homeland Security's website, there are 5 core missions: prevent terrorism and enhancing security, secure and manage our borders, enforce and administer our immigration laws, safeguard and secure cyberspace, ensure resilience to disasters. Now, they're acting contrary to at least 3 of those core mission statements. And so, you know, I'd like to challenge all those, border folks down there. I know there's some good people down there who are trying to speak up, but, people need to band together and stand up and start doing what's right. Point to your mission statement. If you're being told to do something that's contrary to that, you need to go up the chain of command until you find somebody who's willing to do something about it.
I saw an article just a few days ago in Reuters about them giving an award nationally to all the people in Operation Valkyrie that tried to kill Hitler. And they teach in the German military now, if somebody tells you to do something illegal or to violate people's rights, it's not a right, it's a duty to resist it. Well, that was taught in the past in our military manuals. I've seen the ones up until the 70s. I don't see that being taught now.
Exactly. I was in the Budapest airport one time, and I saw a display for cigarettes for sale, and they had multiple warning signs, labels in multiple languages, and one of them, the one in English, said, "This product will kill you." I love that. Straight to the point, honest. Wouldn't it be nice if our politicians and our government agencies came with those same warning labels instead of the lofty ones that we come up with that are hypocritical?
Well, you get called an extremist for saying out-of-control government will kill you. George Washington basically said that, and they call that terrorism now.
Yeah, they're terrorists, but the bottom line is to them, they are not. Now, why is that important to understand? Because they are as committed to their cause and to their way of life as you are yours. And they see you as being wrong. Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson?
Oh, yeah.
You mean George Washington?
Oh, yeah.
Paul Revere?
Yeah.
These guys right here, let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people?
Oh, yeah.
They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism against British officials because they systematically had British officials assassinated.
I mean, that is scary when the government is saying, criticizing us and promoting what the country's founded on is extremist and connected to terrorism.
Yeah. Well, here's another great mission statement, and this is right out of the VA's website. VA's 5 core values underscore the obligations inherent in VA's mission: integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and excellence. The core values define who we are, our culture, and how we care for veterans. Taking the first letter of each word, integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and excellence, creates a powerful acronym: I care. Come on. Why aren't people in prison right now? If anybody gave a damn that we've got over 1,000 veterans died because of being ignored.
Secret death list.
Yeah, and so meanwhile, though, the president seems to know more about the health care of a prisoner of war on the other side of the country or on the other side of the world who's been accused of being a deserter, and he couldn't notify Congress and give them the 30-day notice that by law, the law that he signed, he was obligated to do, released 5 known terrorists from Guantanamo Bay, which arguably could be treason because it's aiding and abetting the enemy, to get this one soldier back. And he couldn't tell anybody about it in Congress because his health was in such dire need.
Now he's back on regular duty.
He probably had better health care while he was a prisoner of war. He's still alive 5 years later. We've got veterans who can't say the same thing.
Well, Joe Biggs right here in this office coughs up blood every night. He was blown up multiple times in armored vehicles. And he literally... They keep sending him to other meetings. And then the illegals come across, God bless them, they get free health care, but our veterans have had it turned off. Why do you think the system's doing that?
Well, I think that it comes down to we've got corruption at the highest levels of all of our institutions. And that's I think, the main point to get across. If you look at most of our institutions in this country, you've got people at the front lines who are honest, have integrity. They're doing their job. They're trying to live the mission statement. The VA has some of the most salt of the earth people working there, the ones who are actually providing the care. But when you look at these corrupt bureaucrats who are making money on the blood of veterans by earning bonuses, by trying to falsify records to show what great care they're giving,